Every time the discussion of religion comes up, when you talk about politics, they always bring up the separation of church and state. They say there's separation of church and state, right? What they're talking about is the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, which says this, that there shall be no, that the government shall have no establishment of religion thereof, right? And some people think that this means that the government, they can't like say that they believe in Jesus, or the government can't say like, oh, we're a Christian nation, right, or something like that. But this is actually not true. Back before America was established, what was normal were like kings and monarchs and queens that were worshipped like gods, right? The government would be worshipped in the old times, right? Even in the times of Greece and of Rome, the senators and the representatives were worshipped like a pantheon, like a Pax Romana, right? Not like what we have today, where we have like the government, which is entirely secular, right? So the First Amendment, the Establishment Clause, doesn't say that the government can't be religious, but that you can't worship the government. What is special about the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the section of 10 amendments to the law that is supremely over the land, even over our governors, that the law is sovereign over the land, not any governor or even the president. Even the Constitution is sovereign over the president, is that the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, instead of giving laws for the people to follow, the Constitution gives laws for the government to follow. The Constitution says that the freedom of speech shall not be infringed. So this is a command to the government. It shall not be infringed. The right to bear arms, the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. This is a command to the government. The government is not to infringe on the Second Amendment. So these are laws for the governments, for the senators and for the representatives and for the judges and for the president as well. And so because of this, the government is actually commanded by the Constitution to not even infringe on its own freedom of speech. The government can say whatever it wants as well. The government can even say, we worship Jesus. The government can say, we worship Jesus. The government can say, we're a Christian nation. The government can say all sorts of things by its freedom of speech. What the Establishment Clause forbids the government from doing is saying, worship me, worship the government. You cannot establish a religion of government. The government cannot be worshipped like a bunch of kings or a pantheon of gods. This is the First Amendment Establishment Clause, infringing the government's ability to be worshipped. You see, the Marxists, they have a fundamental critique of American law. They have an interpretation of documents, of primary sources and secondary sources, of texts, narratives, and even law. The Constitution has a text that all texts are blank slates. That essentially every piece of writing and human literature are written meaninglessly. There's no meaning to anything that you write, because minds are blank slates that are being written and read constantly all the time. And when you write down a document, that also comes from a blank mind, a blank slate. Every written document is meaningless to the Marxist. And when the Marxist reads the Constitution, he interprets the Constitution in the context of it being completely destroyed as a blank slate and being rewritten even from its founding fundamentals. This is an interpretation which says this, that America is naturally designed to be destroyed because of the amendments. The Constitution is designed to be destroyed as the supreme law of the land. This means that the Marxist believes that fundamentally America is designed to destroy itself. Because the Constitution can be amended and reinterpreted, the Marxist believes in destroying the Constitution and writing it however he wants to. Because America was founded on revolution, they believe that the Constitution was made to overthrow itself by the Second Amendment. An incorrect interpretation of the Constitution. Why? Because the Constitution was made to be amended, not destroyed. This is why amendments are added to the founding document. The founding document is amended by 10 amendments that are called the Bill of Rights. America is not meant to be destroyed at all. In fact, the Bill of Rights and the amendments are meant to preserve America for as long as possible, because America is not to be destroyed, but to be changed according to the will of the people. However, there is a founding document to be amended and established, and perhaps the amendments can be abolished, but never the founding document. This is a fundamental critique that I have against Marxist lawmaking, that the Marxist can never destroy the Constitution lest he destroy America illegally as a rebel to create a new nation. And so civil war might break out. But we already have a Second Amendment right by which America preserves its integrity by a civilian population of armed civilians, of armed people, preserving America from ever fighting a civil war. The reason why there is an establishment clause in the first place is because of the Constitution. The Constitution serves as the supreme law of the land, which is sovereign over all of the governors, all of the judges, all of the senators, and all of the presidents that are established. The government cannot be worshipped or establish a church of itself because of the Constitution, which is sovereign over the governors. Even the Constitution, which can be amended, cannot be established as a church either. The Constitution itself cannot be worshipped because the Constitution can be amended by people. And so the people are even sovereign over the Constitution by elected representatives who can amend the Constitution by legislation in the legislative branch, and to be executed in the executive branch, and to be interpreted by the judicial branch, by the checks and balances and the separation of powers. This makes America completely and totally immune to any sort of idolatrous establishment of worship for itself. The government cannot demand you to worship it. The government cannot demand you to follow and obey every single command. The government actually encourages civil disobedience for you to use your First Amendment right in order to protest laws, to protest governors, to protest elections, to protest taxes and representation, interpretations, and even executive orders. 100%. This is encouraged by the Constitution, by your First Amendment right. Because of this, America finds itself entirely in its position to encourage the worship of your own religion and also the worship of Jesus in its own place. In its own place. It's essentially, like, the government can say we are a Christian government, we are a Christian nation. We worship God, not the government. We worship God, not the Constitution, not even the law. We worship God, not the judges. We worship God, not any celebrity or any civilian, no matter how much money he has. Because of this, America is the perfect Christian nation where there is no God but the Lord.